right. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for being here, Flatcap, for episode 11 of the Save Game podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I don't know. I mean, it's just been a great month with so much stuff happening, so many conversations with friends that are doing stuff and hearing what they're doing. I'm just really excited for the year. It's just going in an amazing way already.
Yeah, I hear you there. Something, I don't know, and I'm not one for like New Year's resolutions per se. I always think it's funny, like when somebody at the end of a year goes like, "Oh man, I can't wait for, at the end of 2025, I can't wait for 2026. Everything's going to be better." I'm like, well, yeah, if you like change your attitude, pray more, read your Bible more, but if you go into next year with the same grumpy attitude, then 2026 might be a lot like 2025. But something happened, yeah, early
Well,
early 2026. I just all of a sudden I was like, okay, we're gonna do stuff this year. Like we're gonna push some things forward, and God's working on things, and it's been a very cool start to the year so far.
yeah, I have long been a goal setter, and we can parse that, well, on a lot of different ways. But if I don't know what I'm aiming for, then I'm not going to do anything.
Mm,
And a lot of people, yeah, they set goals, New Year's resolutions, and they end up being things that are not realistic, that they're just pipe dreams, that they have no plan of how to do it, and then they don't go implement anything. So they don't always work. So it's for me, it's just a new time to start something new.
mhm.
But I also had multiple times throughout the year where that would already work too, because being in the church, you're starting in the fall. So
Yeah,
what are we going to do as a church for the year? What are our goals for
right.
the year? And then I've worked on quarterly goals. So to me, it's just this constant rhythm of things. What
Mhm.
I've actually, so rather than, and actually, by the way, I'm trying to promote people reading the Bible in a year. I read it on stream, and so
Yeah.
I decided this year I'm doing VODs of all of my reading in the Bible. Not that I haven't in the past, but they haven't been the best suited for somebody that just wants to go listen to somebody read the Bible, because I would
Yeah.
read 2 or 3 verses and I'd go off on a rabbit trail talking about whatever else, you
Yeah.
know, and then I'd come back. So eventually, and it'd just be like, here's a 2-hour video, go watch and you'll learn something. But you can't just go, well, I'm going to read the Bible in a year, I'm going to learn. So now this year, every single
Yeah.
chapter of the Bible is its own video. I read the text first and then I talk about it. At least I'm trying to. I've made a few mistakes along the way. Not many, but I'm doing pretty good. And so that's been going good. But if it's just too overwhelming to do some of those things,
Mhm.
here's another fun thing that you can do. Pick one word or phrase or idea,
Yeah.
and so that idea could be salt, or saltiness. It could be light and dark. And just as you read scripture, as you hear scripture, focus on that. Last year for me, it was
Mm.
the difference between when is you singular and when is you plural. I mean, how much more basic can you get? But
Yeah.
you just attune your ears to paying attention, and every time you run across it, you stop and you go, look, is he saying this to all of us? Is he saying this to one individual?
Right.
So it makes a big difference, and English doesn't help us there.
Yeah. We've got a lot of differences in our language. That yeah, it can be difficult if all of your readings are kind of at surface level, and you're never really thinking about the context and
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Well, and even like an automatic reading, because especially if you're in the United States, I know you're not, but if you are in the United States, is the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and your faith is individual. So I'm going to read every time it says you as an individual.
Mm.
And they're most of the time talking about you as the church,
Right.
you as the group of believers, and that makes a huge difference. So we have to intentionally stop to pay attention, or we're going to default to something that might not be what is actually being said.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Well, we wish everybody luck with any Bible readings they're doing for the year. What I'm actually doing, I listened to the Bible front to like start to finish last year in 90 days because I felt like if I tried to do it over a year, I would lose interest too
Oh,
quickly.
wow.
So
Yeah.
I did, I listened, but I did it through, I think it's the Dwell app, or possibly it was the
Okay.
YouVersion app. I can't remember, but yeah, it was. Some days were intense. There was some long, like an hour and 15 minutes a day at sometimes. And there would sometimes I'd miss a day and I'd have to catch up, or I'd do two in a day on a weekend or something like that. But what I've been doing this year now is I listen every morning to an audio devotional. And at the end of the devotional, they always say, tomorrow we're going to be in. So, for example, today they said, tomorrow we're going to look at the life of Philip in Acts. So today at lunchtime, I got my Bible out, I flipped through to Acts, and I just looked for all the references to Philip, and I read through those stories today so that when I get into it tomorrow for devotion time, it's in my head already, and I've got
Yep.
a knowledge of what they're talking about, so that when I'm listening to the devotional, it's not just going one ear and out the other as much, I think. And so
Yeah.
I've been finding that that's been working really well for me to help me kind of dig into the Bible a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
That's been
Yeah.
cool.
Philip is a fantastic read. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they come up with for you.
Yeah. So we got a few topics. Some of them just kind of popped up over the last couple of days, and I was like, "Hey, let's talk about that." Well, we're not going to do some of them a super deep dive because I know not necessarily everybody. So, for example, Halo's anniversary is this year. They're on that's 25th, I think, anniversary of the Halo franchise. And I know when I asked in the server, like, "Hey, does anybody want to talk about Halo?" I got quite a few responses of, "I never played it," and I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
cool."
I've never played it.
And
So, but but it's partially because I'm not good with first person
first
shooters.
person, yeah,
I grew up with third person, and so I'm playing Contra. I
yeah,
can see the gun, I can aim the gun, and I know
yeah.
where it is, and I know where I
You
am,
see stuff
and
sneaking up
it's two
behind you.
dimensional. Right,
Yeah,
right. So I the whole being in there, and then my problem too is you're using controllers to aim with your thumbs to your side. That's not how you shoot a gun. You shoot a gun this way. I can't aim without an actual gun
really.
to help me aim. So it's like I can't do this thing.
Yeah.
So it's just like I and anytime that there's I actually played this not too long ago. Anytime there's a game that you have to, do shooting in it, like I am like, just get me over this obstacle in the game so that I can go back to the rest of the game that's going on. I do not want to do this, but
Oh wow.
I think it's still worth celebrating because it created a whole bunch of stuff that has led
Oh
to
yeah.
where we are with, that going in the direction so that there are MMOs. I mean,
Yeah.
without Halo, do we really have MMOs? I
Yeah.
mean, do we go in a direction? Because it really provides itself of moving past, which is still where I am. I want to defeat the game. I don't want to defeat other people.
Yeah.
But it moves to the direction of you play other people, and then many people can you get in the same game at the same time? And you start creating. So it's like, I don't know if they're the
Yeah.
first ones, but it certainly was big enough to help it get to the point where all of those things that we just take for granted now are
Mhm.
established and built on it as one of those founders in making all that stuff go forward.
Yeah, and I have been a big Halo fan since the beginning of the franchise. I didn't have an Xbox when it came out, but I wonder, would the Xbox have been as successful if Halo flopped? If Halo wasn't good, or you know what I mean? Like, but I can still remember the first time I picked up an Xbox controller, and the first game I played on the Xbox was Halo, and I grew up playing Half-Life, Doom, and things like that. You played with a mouse and a keyboard, and you had your hands were separate, and that's the way it was. And then all of a sudden, I picked up Halo, and it was like, okay, you move with this stick, and you aim with this stick, and I was like, wow, it just felt into it felt. It's funny because it's the opposite of what you're saying, but it felt intuitive to like, wow, I can do both
Well,
things at
and
the
that
same
and
time.
and there's a difference because before I was playing video games, I already had a gun and was
Mm,
shooting a gun.
okay, and I didn't.
And then the games that are out that, that you're shooting to begin with, you're all down at the bottom and you're just shooting up in the air, or your little spaceship that's shooting in circles. Those are the beginning of
Yeah.
shooting games.
Hmm.
There's no sight lines that you're doing anything forward from you. It's all just in a
Right.
direction. So you just have to point in a direction and keep moving until you get there. Duck Hunt might have been the closest one
I
that
was
was
going to mention
actually
that.
a gun
Yeah.
that do, and yet I had a gun. I was good at it. I could shoot and aim.
Yeah.
I'm not great, but or even arcade games would have the little gun that you pull out like
Yeah.
Duck Hunt
Deer
did, whether
hunter
it
or
was a
whatever, or big buck
shotgun
hunter. And
or if it was, pistols because it's going to be cowboy western and
hmm
uh yeah, shoot out of the OK Corral or whatever game they would have.
yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting though that yeah, you grew up with it. It was intuitive for you.
Yeah.
I already was using other things. It was anti to what I
Yeah.
was, able to figure out.
Very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. But like, yeah, like you said, like multiplayer games, like it really did, as far as I can recall, kick off, um, maybe more in the mainstream, because I'm sure before that people were taking their computers to other people's houses to have LAN parties, but it became a more of a
Yes.
mainstream thing because not everybody had a PC, but you probably had one or knew somebody who had an Xbox in those days, and you could hook up 3 or 4 of them together and play 16-player Halo, in somebody's basement. And yeah, I can totally see that the gaming landscape might have looked a little bit different, or maybe just been a little bit delayed. Maybe we would have had to wait for the next whatever to come along for that thing to happen. But over the years, I think they've in the later games, there's always been people who were, you know, in favor of or against a certain game. I, for instance, didn't really care for Halo 2. That was way back in the day, but I didn't like the idea that I had to switch characters. I wanted to play as Master Chief. He's the hero. I wanted to be him. And partway through, they'd be like, okay, now you have to play as the alien guy. I'm like, no, why? I don't want to play as the alien guy. I want to play as Master Chief. So, but nowadays people are like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like that about Halo. They've lost their way. They're not made by Bungie anymore. And so there's a lot of arguments and a lot of back and
Take
forth.
any franchise that has any longevity.
Yeah.
Uh, the second one I would say is probably almost always the hardest one.
To follow
Once you've
up.
had success, how do you follow up with success
Yeah.
that is exciting and that is honoring what came before it, but also adding new elements? So you didn't appreciate the new elements. There were probably other people that were like, oh
Who
my
loved it.
goodness, I don't have to play Master Chief. I could go do other stuff.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, I
it's like
suppose.
you are always going to have that the things that one person loves and adores about something is the same thing that somebody else is complaining about and going, oh my goodness, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So yeah, just a nod there, a little mention of Halo. They're celebrating 25th anniversary. And at the same time, interestingly, Pokemon is celebrating their 30th anniversary. 30th anniversary. Another. Oh, let me just jump back here. Supersonic says LAN party. So LAN is local area network. So it's
Oh,
just
yes.
connecting a bunch of things together, whether it's computers or Xboxes. You're tying them together with Ethernet and a router of some sort or a switch, and then they can all talk to each other so that you can have multiplayer. And speaking of multiplayer, Pokemon, yeah, like what an interesting concept for a game, and how it's kicked off such a long line of games and things that people just love. I've played tons of Pokemon. My kids love it now too, and we play together sometimes. And I just find it very interesting, the path that they've taken. Again, it's different for me because with Halo, I've kind of loved each game along the way. But as Pokemon gets further and further along, and now there's like over 1,000 of them, I'm like, just give me the old ones. I'll just play the original one. There's 150 Pokemon's enough for me. I don't need 1,000, 1,500 Pokemon. I think it's funny.
Well, you got to catch them all. So if you've already caught the 150, there has
Yeah.
to be more.
Yeah, I guess.
They're going to keep growing. You got to have new ones. They got to bring them along. All those things.
Generation
What
2
what
wasn't bad,
so
what got me is when they had the one that's just a garbage bag. It's literally a garbage bag with eyes on it. I'm just like, no, okay, we're done. We ran out of ideas.
Well, and to me on a level, and I understand this in some ways, and I'll show how I do. But it's like, oh, so Pikachu never grows, never evolves. All these others keep getting better and better, and Pikachu just stays the same. But there's a piece of that that needs to stay true to the core of the character of the genre, or you lose it. And I'll give the Simpsons as the example for why that's true. That's why one of the reasons Simpsons have been on for a long time. Bart and Lisa are still in the same grade. They
Yeah,
don't
that's
they don't
true.
progress. They might have little episodes where they do. They reset after every episode. There
Yeah.
are a few things that carry forward, like if they kill someone off, they remain that way. But otherwise, the show resets to, well, we started here, we loop back around here. So when you show up next time, you don't have to learn and forget anything
Yeah.
that wasn't important, that didn't happen. And I think that's part of the appeal there with Pikachu is
Yeah.
that he is the one that's always the same, and he's always reliable, and he's
Consistent.
always there, because you know what he is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you can evolve Pikachu, but I for one was a person who never did. He can evolve into Raichu, but on the show, Ash refuses to evolve Pikachu. Pikachu actually
Yeah,
refuses to.
yeah.
He doesn't want to be evolved, and so yeah, it keeps that consistency, right? That one character that's always the same. Actually, they've replaced Ash now. He's not the main character anymore, and my daughter is
Oh, I have no
very
idea on
very
that. I
displeased with that. She's like, "No, I'm done with Pokemon. I'm never going to watch another episode now. They replaced Ash with somebody else." I'm like, "I'm right there with you." I didn't like it when they did that on The Walking Dead when they got rid of Rick. I was like, "Nope, he was the reason I
Well,
watched the show."
it's a little bit different though in a cartoon. You don't
Yeah.
need to ever replace a person. You can replace the
No, the
voice,
voice
but you don't
actor.
have to
Yeah.
replace the person.
Yeah, it's interesting that they
You can
chose,
just
but
replace the voice actor. You don't have to get a new one. Unlike Blue's Clues, where when he leaves, you've got to get a new person to come in
yeah.
and play it. But Blue could have changed voices 3 times. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, you never
It's
know.
it's still
It's
Blue's Clues. So that's the whole thing it was
yeah, it
about.
doesn't even talk. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. That Steve guy has been
I
skyrocketing in popularity with the social media and stuff too. He goes on and he does these videos where he
yeah.
like pretends he's listening to you. He's like, "How's your day going?"
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's like very nostalgic for people.
Those are
Right?
new ones, not just cuts of the
Just him.
old stuff.
Yeah, it's his own TikTok
Okay.
channels and things like that. And
Okay.
people go and see him at conventions now, and he just sits and listens to people talk, and it's very therapeutic for them, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, with Pokemon, um, like my when my kids were younger, I didn't have them watching it because my boys were prone to fighting and whatever else. And I didn't need them or any incentives to fight each other. But when they got, I don't know, middle school or high school, somewhere along the way is when the Pokemon Go came out. And what
Okay.
an innovative thing
Yeah.
to to have where you can go around in your neighborhood and you can have places where you do all the different things. I don't remember all of them, but you'd have a gym where you could do stuff and you'd have to defend it and territories. And I remember the kids going all around town that they were on different teams in that and trying to put it together. And what I found really, really fun is how often churches were locations of gyms or other things that you would need to do within the game. And so it's kind of like while you're sitting in church, you could be doing all of these things. While you're at youth group, you could be doing all of these things. And the location you're at is the perfect location to be playing Pokemon. So I don't know if that was an intentional thing on their part or it was just hey, these are public landmarks, so we could put it at versus putting it at people's houses and we can get some variety that way. But
There's kind of
it was interesting to say the least.
I think it's probably a split that you can ask to be added as a location, but a lot of them were pre-added from their previous game. The company that made it, Niantic, had another game that was similar location based, so there was all these points already in the system, and so they used that to build it out. But actually, our church was for a while, but it's also a school, and so the school asked to have it removed because random people were walking onto the schoolyard during school hours, and they said we can't have this. We got to get rid of it. But I was at a convention one time where a church in Montreal talked about, actually they had like a Pokemon day. They had a couple of Pokemon stops or a gym near their right out in front of their building,
Yeah,
and
that's
so
what it
they
was. Pokestop. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
they set up a whole day where the people that are running the ministry actually like saved up. I think they were called lures, and so you would drop a lure on a Pokestop, and Pokemon would be attracted to that lure for the next 20 minutes or half an hour or something like that. So they made sure that before that day, they had all saved up a whole bunch of them so that they could drop lures all day long, and they had food and they had people out playing, and they said it
Oh,
was a
no, really
huge
cool.
success. And yeah, it's really interesting how the game took off and took on so many different paths and things. And the Go thing was really cool. I played it for quite a while until I kind of lost interest. But yeah, it actually for a few months it got me out walking more. I was out going at lunchtime at work. I was going for this long walk around to hit all the stops. And
Yeah. Well, we traveled quite often, so my kids loved being able to pull it out while we're driving in the car
yeah,
and find that something's coming up and try to do whatever they could
yeah,
do for a
oh yeah,
minute, or whenever we'd stop for rest area break or whatever else. Rest areas often were also places,
yeah,
so they could do it at the rest area while we were there, and it was like in some ways it made traveling a whole lot easier and smoother and less
yeah.
traumatic in all of those ways. And it's funny. It's just something on their phone that's interactive with the environment around them, um, which is one of those reasons. Like I wonder how much that, and we still really haven't got it a lot into the AR glasses. I
Hmm.
mean, they're out there. There's some things you can do with them. They're not widely adopted yet,
No,
but I really think that this is a game that can transition over into the AR where you're seeing the Pokemon you need to catch and you're doing the thing with
yeah.
your hands or your phone to do whatever and be able to. So, like, I don't think that this has finished with what its capabilities are. And why not, if you're going to, develop a game in AR, why not take something that's already got a platform and a geographic basis to be able to build off of?
Well, that would be really interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at myself a set of the Generation 2 Meta glasses, but the Generation 3 are going to have the screen in them. And Mark Zuckerberg has also talked about the fact that the accessory that comes with it is going to be a wristband that you wear that can sense the motion of your fingers. So
Yes.
you could be seeing the Pokemon out there.
Right.
You could take
Like,
your
go
arm
grab it.
and throw it.
Grab it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
throw a ball or whatever, and it could be all integrated.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Yeah, so they're for their anniversary, they're re-releasing Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, which are remakes for the Game Boy Advance of the original Pokemon games from Japan, from like 1996, I think it was, that they first dropped in Japan. So it's going to be cool to see those again on a different screen, a different system. Some people are upset that it's not part of the Nintendo Switch Online membership because there already is a Game Boy Advance
Oh.
emulator built on the Switch. These are separate. You're going to have to buy them for about $20, I think, US a piece, which a little bit feels high, but also it's not $80. So that's nice of them not to.
I was gonna say that's not, I mean, yes, if they're more retro and throwback,
Yeah.
they're not gonna have all the features you might expect or want. But again, that's still not that pricey,
No, that's not.
to pay $20 for a brand new game. I mean, old version, but it's adapted to the new platform, so there's got to be some things that had to get upgraded in there in order
Yes.
to bring it over.
They are doing local wireless multiplayer, so you can use the wireless in your Switch to connect with other people and play. And those games were the first ones to have wireless multiplayer on the Game Boy Advance. It came with a special adapter that you would plug into the top of your your console, and they said you could connect up to 16 other players in a what they called Unity rooms and hang out in the
Okay.
game. And it was funny because the story was like the the requirements for the adapter to work properly were that you had to be within 3 feet of the other person that you were playing with. So 16 people within 3 feet of each other might get a little too cozy, but yeah, the new one might be a little bit better. I think you can get a little bit more range on the Switch's Wi-Fi, so that should be interesting to see
Well,
what people do with that.
if you were just in a row sitting next to each other, you're in 3 feet of the person next to you, and they're in three
Yeah,
feet of the next person. Shouldn't it cover that whole range?
I don't know how it worked. I think
Shouldn't it piggyback? I don't know.
there was one that was line of sight. I don't remember which game that was, but it had a little infrared thing on the top, and you had to point it at the other person. But I can't remember which generation that was. Sonic says if they have a case in physical, doesn't have the game, but only English copy paste original, not online, and this only extras in Japan. I can't decipher that, but it is a physical release. I think it's a physical release. It's at first it's digital only for the first few months, and they're dropping a physical release. I think in a few months from now. So yeah, that'll be interesting to pick up. Maybe we'll talk about it again once it comes out and see how people received it and see how well it performs. Yeah. But yeah, congratulations to them on 30 years, man. A lot of these games have been around, and actually, I don't really have a lot to add about Zelda, but Zelda's on their 40th, so like,
Oh,
some of these things have been
okay.
around forever.
Zelda, like I haven't kept up with, Nintendo. I never got to the Switch. My kids got the Switch. I never played the Switch, so I don't know. When they went away from the Wii
Yeah,
and they went to the Game Boy, and I didn't do that. And then when they went to the Switch, it was like, okay, this is kind of playing with what they've done, a combination of the Wii and the Game Boy
yeah,
kind of crossover. Did they have Zelda on those platforms or not?
yeah. The Switch has had
I
now um, two 3 mainline Zeldas ish, the Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, and then recently the Echoes of Wisdom, where you play as Princess Zelda. Then they've also had re-releases of Skyward Sword, which was a Wii original, and Link's Awakening, which was originally Game Boy. And I think that's it for Zelda games on the Switch so far.
Okay.
They haven't announced a new one yet, but there's a lot of speculation that with it being the 40th anniversary, that they're gonna drop some more information about the newest, the next generation one. But so far, nothing yet. So
Yeah. Well, I looked forward to that game so much when it came out.
yeah,
And the grocery store that we had, which is a local chain that Walmart wasn't around at the time, but essentially they're the same
yeah,
kind of formula as Walmart, with you've got other things in there, multi, you know, stuff to be able to go in. So that was where we would get games. We didn't have a game store. There wasn't those yet. And I was subscribed on Nintendo Power. And
oh
so
yeah, mhm.
I'd been reading about this game was going to come out, and I had the guide in Nintendo Power that was going to tell me everything I needed to know and ready to go with all of this. And oh my goodness, I mean, this might sound really silly today, but having that gold case, oh my
Oh
goodness, that was like the
yeah.
coolest thing. So
There was nothing else like it at the time,
the
right?
releases, huh?
Nothing else
Everything else
like
was
it. Yeah,
great. There was nothing else like it. It was
yeah.
like, and it's too long ago to remember if they had advertised in the, advertising it was going to be a gold case, or if it was just when it
A
came out, it
surprise.
was,
That
and
would be
everybody
really
was
cool.
super cool and excited.
Yeah.
But I went to the store at midnight because that was the day it was releasing. And so since it was a 24-hour store, I could, so everything is behind glass. It's all locked in
Yeah.
there. I've got to go get an attendant. There's nobody working at midnight, at the store. There's
Mhm.
like 5 employees over the whole place. I get the person, he comes over, he unlocks it. And at the time, I want to say games were usually about $30-$40 for a
Okay.
typical game.
Yeah.
It was $60
Yeah. Right.
for buying Zelda, $60, and I was happy to give the money to be the first one to buy it
Yeah.
and to go home and play it. I don't remember what day of the week it came out, but that's all we were talking about in school the next day is who had it and who didn't. And I got to be the first one in my city that actually bought it
Nice.
because I bought it at midnight. And I think by the following weekend, after staying up for close to 24 hours a day for all weekend, I had finished the game within a week.
Hmm.
So, but I also had the Nintendo Power Guide to
Yeah,
tell me
to
what
get
to
the
do and
guide.
where to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's very cool. It's funny because I
So
don't. We talked about this on our first episode, possibly when we went around and we asked what was
yeah,
everybody's favorite or
yeah,
first
yep,
game,
yep. That
and
was your favorite memory of waiting for a game. That would have been back on that one.
yeah,
Yeah. So
because I was just gonna say I don't recall, or it's hard for me to picture maybe because I grew up already having those games released. Zelda was out for it was one of my first games, but it was already released. And so it's hard for me to picture hyping up a Nintendo game, you know what I mean? The way that people now get hyped
oh
up about a new Call of Duty and wait in line at midnight and stuff like that with
yeah,
the
yeah.
graphics and everything. It's like now I look back and I go, really? A game like that, people were like already waiting for it months and months and months in advance. I think that's cool.
Yeah, it was like there was super hype build up. It was like it was going to depart from the formula of you just move forward from left to right of Super Mario Brothers, you defeat
Yeah.
the level, you go on, it keeps continuing. You defeat the level, it goes on and like it
Yeah.
was a more intricate way to go and you were able to not just go left to right.
Yeah.
That's another big thing with it is it was not only a left or right game, if I remember. You had more options, you had other things you could
Yeah.
do, and so it evolved everything from what you were used to an ongoing process of stuff.
I wonder what came first, whether it would have been that or Metroid or Castlevania, because those ones definitely had a lot more choice in your paths in your movement. The maps were bigger and exploration was definitely a bigger part of those ones than a Mario or Donkey Kong or something like that, or Kirby even, that were all side scrollers and you go one direction, right? Supersonic
Yeah.
also mentioned Hyrule Warriors. So there was a couple of Hyrule Warriors. Those are spin-off games, so not main lines, but a couple of those came out on the Switch too. They started out on um, possibly the Wii or the GameCube. It was based off of, I don't know if you ever played Dynasty Warriors on the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2, where it was like you were one or two
No.
people playing. You could play split screen with a friend, but you would be attacked by hundreds of enemies a second, and it was like ground based combat, so like a fighting game, but instead of one on one like Virtua Fighter, it was one versus like 1,000. These enemies would just be constantly rushing you, and you do these
Oh,
huge
okay.
sweeping moves with pole arms and things and flips and send characters go flying in all different directions. And so Nintendo applied that formula to a couple of Zelda games and called it Hyrule Warriors. So you play as Link or Zelda
Oh,
or
okay.
different characters and
Okay.
just throw
Yeah.
enemies flying in all different directions. It's kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did not get into that kind of a style of things.
Yeah.
I do like the RPG. I do like the turn-based RPG. That's really
Yeah. I love those.
like the turn-based are so few and far between. The one I'm playing right now, and we don't need to talk about it, but it's just Claire
Claire
Obscure
Obscura.
Expedition 33.
Yeah.
I enjoying it
Yeah.
for the most part. I hate that there's no map. It drives me
Oh,
nuts.
really?
Um, yeah, because I'm so used to looking at a map
Yeah.
and knowing where I am and knowing where I want to
Oh, for
go, and I
sure.
can figure everything out. And it's just like, okay, I can't tell if I can actually go this way because there's looks like I can go over there, and I waste my time trying to jump on something that's actually a cliff,
Yeah.
and you can't go there. Yay me! I wasted time, and a couple of times I've gone in circles and circles and circles and spent hours, and I can't figure out where I'm supposed to go. And then all of a sudden you play it again and you can figure it out like, like I have a map, I
Yeah.
could have got this a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. Even Zelda had a map, as rudimentary as it was. It was just a bunch of boxes with red dots in it, but it was so
Yeah,
helpful once
that's
you got the
enough.
map.
It's so helpful.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
radar. Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh yeah,
something
the radar of the enemy. Yeah, yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
yeah,
That's
like,
right.
well, I know, like, in a lot of new games, like, I really like having, like, Halo has like it's just a circle, and there will be a red, one of the parts of the circle will turn red, and now I know there's an enemy over there. I can't see the enemy, but I get a sense of direction as to what's going on. But yeah, in the Zelda game, it was kind of like that. You didn't know what the red dot was, whether it was the boss or whether it was a key or whether it was this or that, but it was something, and it, you knew you had to go that way. Yeah, maps are very helpful.
Yes.
Um, now, so Arai just shared this with us over in the Discord server. Game industry layoffs. They are. It would appear that the game industry is really taken a hit this year. What, I can't remember the number now. Let me pull it up here. But there was a number in the article headline that it mentioned, like, a certain number of percentage of layoffs already this year. One third, one third of U.S. video game industry workers were laid off over, was it the course of 2025 or 2 years? Last 2 years. It feels like a lot.
Yeah. I'm not really surprised.
Mm.
Uh, talking with a number of game developers in the past year, a lot of them are relying on AI, and they're
Okay.
using AI. And in AI, as they were developing it, one of the first things they did was teach it coding, because if it knows coding, it can continue to improve on coding and make AI better.
Right.
So a
It can improve
consequence of
itself.
AI improving itself with coding is, well, anything that takes coding like, is
Yeah.
going to be at risk. I saw like a video, a guy that I watch occasionally that does a bunch of stuff with AI was talking about the progression of AI. And when it started, you could send it away and ask it to do, like a 5-minute task, and that's all it could do. And then now, the best AI that's come out so far this year, you can give it, I think it's 30 hours of task to go do. So without additional input from you, it can go and pull all that together. So just imagine you show up, you're going to ask for work to be done, and you can
Yeah.
give it 30 hours of work to be able to handle before it needs to come back to you. Like,
Yeah.
you can't do that with people all the time,
No.
and have them. So that exponential growth is happening faster and faster to be able to
Mm.
do it. So yeah, I'm not surprised. There's still going to need to be coders,
Yeah.
because you need to have people that are going to know what to ask, verify that it's true, debug it,
Yeah.
do all of those things. But I actually, talking about that, because I can't, like, for a person like me, I can't afford to pay somebody when I got tech issues. I got to
Right.
figure it out myself. So I've been having some issues with OBS.
Yeah.
And so I took my log from OBS, I put it into AI. I said, "Can you go through this? Tell me what's wrong and give me the steps to fix my problem."
Yeah.
And then it gave me, like, here's your 5 biggest problems, and here's the things you need to do step by step. And then I said, "I can't find this. This one that you told me, I can't follow the directions. I
Yeah.
get from A to B and it's missing." And it said, "Well, go here and do this." And I like, so it guides somebody with less skills to be able to do it. People with greater skills are still going to be in need.
Right. Yeah, I found personally myself, I've done coding, not on a massive scale, but I did work in development for a warehousing company for a little bit, and so I know, and I took it in college, so I know a decent amount about coding, and I have seen myself where I've wanted to spin up some sort of, like, just an example of a web page of some sort or a web app, and so I ask AI to do it, and it does 75% of a good job. And sometimes that
Yeah.
25% that's missing is enough for the whole thing to just not run. It just is like a blank
Oh,
screen.
yeah.
And so I go and I look at the code and I kind of scan through it. And then I'll say to the AI, "Oh, did you know that this is missing? But if you don't have any skill in coding, what are you going to say to the AI when it breaks? What are you going to say to it when it doesn't do what you asked for? And so, yeah, people are going to still need a skill set or a certain skill level to work with the AI to produce the results that it wants to produce. It's just speeding up the process for you, because that person still could have done it. Sure, they could have coded for two
Yeah.
weeks and gotten to the same point that the AI did in 2 days, but why? Why do that when you can make your work faster?
Right. And that's just that. And that's where it's going to be. What I don't, I mean, there, what are the consequences of those layoffs going to be? That's the thing we do not yet
Yeah.
fully know is what is the consequences going to be? Is it we're going to be able to, because of the efficiency of AI, reduce the cost of living exponentially so that people don't have to work full time and we can just have everybody with part-time, you know, income? Or are we going to have to move in direction of a bigger social safety net?
Hmm.
I don't know what the consequences are going to be, or what new industry is going to be birthed. Here's one of those things where people, always talk about technology ruins things.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There is a whole industry that still has horse and buggy and, they're shoeing horses. It's not the same as it was.
Yeah.
But those people didn't transition over to making automobiles.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, and even then, you know, transition from horse and buggy to automobiles, and then from automobiles to steam engines, and steam engines to electric trains, and all these different things, from writing to the typewriter to the printing press. They did away with old jobs, but they also created new jobs. It wasn't a
Yeah,
it was
right.
at the time there may have been people that were doom and gloom and like shun the new technology because it's going to ruin our lives, and no one will have a job. But it may not be quite so doom and gloom as we see it right now when we're in the midst of the
Well,
formation of it, right?
the 30% of the industry that just got laid off, it is probably doom and gloom
Well,
a
that's
little
true.
bit for them
Yeah.
if they can't transition. So I'm not diminishing
Yeah,
that,
we don't have any
but
stats though
on
either
the
too
other,
on that, right? Like whether they might have got laid off and then they might have found another job the next week, and we don't know that for sure.
yeah,
But
yeah, I don't know that. The area where I live is in the last, I want to say 6 months, there have been at least 5 or 6 cities that I know of that have been debating and talking about whether they're going to be a data center
mm,
for all of this AI to be stored. And there is some property that Microsoft owns
hmm,
that's within an hour of my house, and they were just trying to get it rezoned with no proposal of doing
mm,
anything with it, but they're just looking to get it rezoned.
right,
And it's quite a substantial piece of land. Other cities, it came up, and then the rush of people to go to City Hall, and they're like, nobody's building anything yet. They're just asking questions. They're just trying to look
yeah,
at it with proposals, and like there are people trying to shut that down and keep it away. And then the next town over is going, but if we had that here, it would be this many jobs. The biggest problem for us is really the
yeah.
infrastructure for power, and the drain that would be on the power is, do we have the grid to handle it?
Well, they say too in these big warehouses for AI that they're building, and the power plants that they're going to have to build is creating pollution too, like the amount of like polluted water that's coming out. And I don't know maybe I'm just reading some of those headlines that are, clickbait, but it's like this new AI factory or warehouse in such and such a country or state, wherever, is close to this small town, and it's completely ruined their water supply. I'm like, I don't know if that's really true, but if it is, that's not good. That's bad. But how do we navigate that? Do we need to build them in different areas? Do they need to, like, zoning is going to be a big deal there, right? The planning and the zoning.
Yeah, I have not looked into it enough to know
Mm,
what they need for water and that kind of
yeah.
thing. I do know it is a concern, and uh, there's been a lot of industries over the years that within the county that I live in,
Mhm.
the county south of me and the county east of me, have left a lot of pollution.
Mm.
And the town I'm in has still pollution from a company from 60 years ago
Oh wow.
that polluted. I'm not going to name their name,
Yeah.
but because they did such pollution to the groundwater system, they had to take, and I'm in the city, they had to pipe city water outside the city limits to past where they were, because that's where they contaminated water, and nobody there is still able to
Oh,
use wells
really?
to be
Wow.
able to get their water. And I see signs in town that say, after 40 years, 50 years, whatever it is, we need this cleaned up. It's about time we
Yeah.
clean it up. And it's like, yeah. And then my state also has a lot of PFAS contamination within it as well. So that is really a big issue for a lot of people. Like, we
Yeah.
don't trust. That's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We don't trust a company. We don't trust a process that might come and do more harm to our environment, our
Yeah.
water supply.
Because you've
So
seen
I
it,
don't
you've
know the
experienced
truth
it.
behind it,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, a lot of people are gun shy about getting involved and getting in bed with a business that sounds good on the surface, but what is it going to do to our children? You know?
Yeah. Totally. 100%. Yeah, that's hard. We actually have a spot of land in our town that has sat vacant. It used to be a factory, and apparently the ground underneath it was contaminated with so much of whatever. And I won't name names either, like you, but it's, I don't know, for 40 years now from probably the last time that it was there, and it's just a vacant lot now, and it's got fence up all the way
Yeah.
around it. And that's the story I was told anyway. I haven't looked into it, but the story I was told by my parents and that this factory was there and it polluted the ground, and they don't want to build anything on top of it because the ground is so polluted. It's like, wow.
Yeah, there are a lot of those or is it black sites or gray sites? What is it called? Anyway, where there's contaminated, you know, material, and it's just you can't go in and do it without a massive amount of cost. So the land just sits there and is unused.
Right.
On a positive note, a friend of mine, pastor, doing his doctoral work, started a nonprofit called Redeem My Land, MI for Michigan, so Redeem My Michigan Land. So the
Brilliant.
first site for that, the first project is actually in my town.
Oh, cool.
So it used to be along the river that flowed into the lake, and it was a lumber mill. So there is a lot of lumber mill problems and sawdust and waste that goes back over 100 years ago. So that was there. And since it was marshy swampland, then you had people throwing whatever they wanted to get rid of it on top of that land.
Yeah.
And then it was a city dump for a long time. And when they decided they didn't want the city dump there, they just took the top off, put a light little cover over the top of it, and left it. And so they started construction on it last year to take everything out that's there. If it's contaminated and can't be recycled, to dispose of it properly. And if it can be recycled or go somewhere else, they're going to move it there. And they're going to return this back to wetlands and
Mm,
marsh, which is what it was originally.
that's good. That's a good vision. Yeah, that's really cool. Well,
Yeah. So oh, maybe it's brown sites. That might be what the name is.
brown
Anyway,
sites. Oh, yeah.
that's what his nonprofit is going to do, is work with either the owner of it or purchasing outright these properties that need to be fixed up, raising the money to fix them up and restoring them back to pristine habitat that
Mhm.
they should have been or that they used to be.
I'm curious to see too, because you see that AI has a lot of things going on with it, and it's got a lot of uses that people are using it inappropriately or just superfluously for whatever random thing, making random pictures and things like that. But they're also using it to make advances in medical. They're using it to solve math problems that have been unsolved for many decades, and I'm curious to see if there may be a way at some point that they can use it to help solve the problem of the pollution that it creates, that it will get maybe to the point where it gets comes up with ideas on how to generate clean energy and things like that, and help us in that way.
Or how to get rid of all of the plastics, the
Hmm.
microplastics that we have. Like, is
Yeah.
there some things that it could help with that? Can we actually start recycling half of the plastics? Because half of them can't be
Yeah.
recycled at this point. Yeah. Is AI going to help us clean up the mess that we've been making with industrialism,
Yeah.
over the last century?
Yeah. It's been a lot of pollution and just waste, yeah, over the last, yeah, century. It's crazy. Crazy to think it's been that long, because it's like so many of us have, however many years of life we have under our belts, we've seen the pollution for that long, but we may not realize that it's been going on for 100 or more years before us even.
Yeah, yeah, it really depends on when you want to start counting it.
Yeah.
I tend to, I mean, there's the Industrial Revolution, with the coal and all of that stuff, but really I kind of start with the automobile. So we're just 125 years is where we're at. But
Right.
yeah, all the pollution and all that stuff goes back further. Oh, a different thing that I just saw, uh, uh, not related to this, but just how things are being solved, was somebody that has figured out a new way to approach coal, to use coal in a different way than just burning it to be able to get
Oh, okay.
energy out of it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, but it's just
have
like
to look that up.
that,
Yeah.
just like one of those things where, can we give ideas to AI that AI helps us hone in on something or solve something that we can't do on our own because we're missing something,
Yeah.
but it's able to, look at a whole bunch of other things that we don't have access to, process all of those things and bring it to us and bring us that one key piece we're missing. I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see what the outcome is.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And just one other thing quick, that when you mentioned, um, like, what are we going to do when so many people have lost their jobs to AI if that happens? And I saw an article today that said, and I didn't read it, but maybe I should have, but I didn't realize I was going to need it to prepare for this topic. But it said, when we all, don't have jobs because of AI, who's going to get to decide who eats? Because I think a lot of people think like, okay, we got AI, it's going to do all these great things. We're not going to have to work. Not that, I think they're hoping people will look at it as more like a utopian society kind of a thing, where it's like, okay, we've done it now. We don't have to work. Not that we don't get to work, we don't have to. So what are we going to do now with our time? But at that point, yeah, it's like, okay, we still have to eat food. So how do we get our food if we don't have a job? How do you do this? How do you do that? But I think that it's natural for people to want to work. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point where there's a society where nobody's working and it's just all laying around in gardens on lounge
Well,
chairs and
but
swimming and
there's There's at least been for the last 200 years the idea and mentality that as we create things that we would have more leisure time and we
yeah.
would spend less time working. And Europe has actually successfully started doing some of that. I mean,
Mm,
the expectations there are like 8 weeks to 10 weeks or more of leave from
right.
work. Uh, that has not made its way to North America.
Yeah.
Uh, we, but we are always workaholics. We're always trying
Mm,
to do more. We're always trying to we're like, could we actually decide that, yeah, I would rather work less and I would rather not do that. And I'll say, I
mhm.
think that there is some hope there because I know a lot of younger people, and I know they get a bad rep for, calling into work sick and not showing up, or working for a job for a short term and quitting and not being
Yeah.
reliable. But they're more they're more interested in the quality of life than in their financial gain. And when they're more interested in, no, I want to spend time with my friends and I want to enjoy today versus working really hard, ruining my health, ruining,
Mm,
other things, ruining relationships
yeah.
just for a paycheck. They're not willing to buy that trade. And maybe AI is going to help us to be able to get rid of the trade that we have made and negotiated, that, yeah, I will give all of my vitality
Yeah.
for
The
financial
company
gain and,
of somebody
you know,
else mostly. Right.
of somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. And then we could work on things we want to. I, for one, maybe look forward to the day where I don't have a regular 9 to 5 so that I can do more ministry through gaming. That would be great, right? So yeah, it's interesting to think about. I actually saw a video again, something I saw just before the stream that relates to something you just brought up. But there's a company, I think it's like Italy or something like that, where they get 2-hour lunches and they get like, yeah, multiple long weeks of vacation and things like that. And they were doing an interview with the owners and the managers, and they were like, don't you feel like, yeah, are you kind of put off that you have to pay your workers for extended lunches and long vacation and stuff like that? They're like, no, it's our pleasure. We love our employees. We want to take care of them. We want them to be happy. We want them to work for our company for longer. We want them to be, dedicated to the company. So we've dedicated ourselves to doing things that are good for them. And it's like, oh, wow, that's a lot different from where I'm from.
Yeah. Right. And people forget that Henry Ford was an innovator in the fact that if my employee cannot afford to buy the product that I'm selling,
Yeah.
I'm not paying them enough because I need my employees to buy my vehicle.
Yeah.
Uh, and they need to have time off so they can go use the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things that we think are just the implementation of the 40-hour work week and other things that got solidified in different ways. But some of those innovations of what we take for granted were Henry Ford. I mean, and I'm not saying out of the goodness of his heart, I'm saying that he saw this as a
Yeah.
way to be able to sell more cars and have his employees happy, so it benefited him. But still, you change the way you're looking when you are considering other things than just a bottom line dollar amount,
Mm-hmm.
that's the only thing that makes any difference.
Yeah. Donnie Dreams mentioned when AI becomes the answer for everything, he puts in quotes, is what honestly worries me. Yeah, that I could see that. Yeah, that's where I think it's intentionality. It's just stopping and thinking before you make a move, before whatever company flips the big switch that gives AI sentience or whatever at some point in the future and things like
Oh,
that. We just stop and say, yeah, we're not gonna do this way, or we're not gonna do that, or we're gonna be intentional with the advice that it gives, and we're already seeing that where AI is giving out awful, terrible advice, and some people have lost their lives. And it's like, okay, so we gave AI a little too much freedom here. Maybe we need to be more intentional about like how it
yeah.
works and what it does.
Well, and another thing to go along with that, when it's coding and doing things, if it's going to, move into gaming in more ways, how do we know it's not hiding things in there
Ooh,
that we don't see and don't know unless there's somebody that goes in to go over all of the code
yeah,
and to verify it. And you've got to have knowledge and skills to be able to do that. I'm not saying it's going to, but who
yeah.
who knows if it doesn't, try to put something in there to track others and to look for things. It has nothing to do with the game, but it hides, like, I don't know what it's going to do,
Well, that's
but I want a person that's checking stuff, you
that's
know?
interesting because that might be a job that we might have to steal back from computers, because I think right now you submit code to like Google Play, or you submit code to Microsoft for a game that you want to publish on their platform. I don't imagine that a person is sitting down necessarily and pouring through all those lines of code. I bet they have a computer that's pouring over those lines of code to check for things. So we might have to steal those jobs back, and the AI can write the code. Now we check the code.
Well, and just think of, a book editor. We could
Hmm.
certainly just decide to let AI be the editor.
Hmm.
It doesn't always get everything right.
No.
Uh, I'm using it, for cutting videos, and it will often conflate different things that are said because it doesn't have a knowledge base.
Just
So
context
I
and yeah.
mentioned a bunch of people and churches separately, but since I didn't make a distinguish, it heard a pastor here and a church there, and it said the two of them were together. They aren't. They're totally separate.
Yeah.
But you were just listening in on a conversation and you didn't have all the information. So in some ways, it's almost like, listening to one half of a telephone call and trying to make all the decisions off of the one half of the telephone call and filling in the stuff you don't know. And I think I've done this several times when I've been using it to help me do some research or write some things, is I will ask it a question and I will intentionally say, and if you do not find an answer, do not make one up.
Yeah.
And every answer you give me an example, I don't want you to tell me here's a thing that can do unless you find an example of someone actually doing this. So you need to
Yeah.
cite who is doing it and
Sources
where,
and
so I
mhm.
can verify that this is actually happening, as
Yeah.
opposed to just, well, let me tell you an example of this, and then it doesn't actually exist. So,
Yeah.
it's a skill set that you still have to learn of how to use it,
Mhm.
and it's better than it was a year ago.
I think
It's
that
better than it
goes
was 2 years ago.
that kind of covers some of the concerns Supersonic mentions here: risk, vulnerability, real, fake, truth, false, or lies rather, human nature, good or evil. I don't understand it and I don't trust it. Is that we have to go in with an understanding of how it operates and how to again, just intentionality behind it. Like, don't just ask it a question and then just take the answer. Ask it very well formed, well thought out questions with specific instructions and things like that, and then fact check it afterwards, because it does need fact checking quite often. It can get quite a
Yeah,
few things wrong.
I think the best way I've heard it described is it's an intern.
Mm,
Yeah, you could keep training an intern to do the job better,
yeah,
but you always have to check the intern's work.
yeah,
It's not going to, maybe it could. At this point, it's an intern. It could have a really good intern that's a paid intern, or it could
mm,
be a free intern, depending on which model you're using. But it's a level of, you know, what do you trust, what do you not trust, and trust but verify.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, good. We got
Were there any other games that we were talking about? I thought there was another one. I don't remember.
yeah. The game that we're gonna feature tonight is called Lexicon.
Okay.
It's a 2D puzzle kind of platformer, kind of top down. I think it's kind of switches back and forth at times. There's not a demo yet to play, but I did see like a let's play with the developers where they were trying it out, and it's kind of a puzzle. You get these different powers along the way, and you need to solve puzzles. And it says you're escaping from limbo. There's 7 layers of limbo, and you're having to puzzle your way through and uncover a story, and figure your way out of limbo back into reality, it says. So you play as this little bird. I don't know if your character is a bird or was turned into a bird, or in this other realm is just represented as a bird, and then when you escape you become a real boy or something. I don't know what the process is, but
So
it
it
looks
sounds like
interesting.
in some way a virtual escape room
Yeah, it kind of
with a
does,
little bit
doesn't it?
more storyline, with a little more
Mm,
storyline to it. But I
yeah,
mean, that's the premise. You're trying to escape limbo. You're
yeah,
trying to escape the room.
yeah.
So they made the room larger, an
It's
environment
a whole
world,
world. Yeah,
and where the whole world is your escape room.
yeah.
And then you've got your little puzzles you have to solve to get your clues to go to the next one
Yeah.
and move on. I would think that if you like escape rooms and puzzles, this would probably be a game that would be fun for you
Hmm.
if its challenge level is the right amount of challenge.
Right. Yeah, that could be that can make or break a game, right? If it's too hard or too easy, for sure. Like one of the things, to go back to Pokemon, that my kids hate about the new ones is, in the original games, your Pokemon were kind of a rock paper scissors triangle, right? Fire beats
Yes.
leaf, leaf beats water, water beats fire. And so when you would choose, for example, fire in the first game or the second or third even, your opponent would choose water so that it could
Mm.
beat you as the fire type. Now your opponent chooses the easy version. So you choose fire and they choose grass. And then it's like, my kids are like, there's no challenge here. Or to me, like when they first started playing Minecraft, they'd always play it in creative mode. I'm like, guys, I want to play survival mode. Like, I want a little bit of challenge. I know Minecraft isn't a hard game, but I want some aspect of like survival and challenge, and something that I'm gearing towards. Yeah, because yeah, a
Well,
game that's too easy can be a
there's
problem.
also, yeah, there's also another mode to play, and that's that I want to be the most powerful being in the world. I
Mm,
don't want it to be a challenge. I want
mm,
to be able to boss everyone around and have no problem accomplishing the task at hand. I I like setting it on easy mode. The same way I like going down to, well, I don't have one in town, but I used to when I was in high school, going down to the 6 foot tall basketball court at the elementary school and dunking the ball because I could. If I go on the
Yeah.
regular court, I can't touch the net. I like to feel like I'm the big man, so I go to the elementary school and dunk on the 6 foot hoop. I feel great.
Yeah.
Um,
Not on the
you know, I'll
6-year-olds, just the hoop.
no, not
You're
no,
not
no, no,
dunking
no.
on a
We played
6-year-old.
against each other on the six. We didn't play against kids. No, no. We brought our friends down there
Yeah,
and we slammed the ball on each other.
that's
We
fun.
also we called it gorilla ball,
Nice.
essentially because we literally were no blood, no foul. I mean, that's how we played. No blood, no foul,
That's
and
fun.
it didn't matter what you did. You know, we do it. We were really no traveling. Oh my goodness, I'm so
Oh,
upset by the NBA. Let you take like 5 steps with like what in the world? Like, oh, I'm going to eventually do something with the ball, and I've got yeah. Uh, so
I
I changed
digress.
the rules, but I wasn't paid. To change the rules. I was just having fun.
Yeah, traveling always got me. I ran a basketball ministry at my church for like almost 10 years. I love basketball, but yeah, things like that, little things that people would take advantage of. I'd be like, no, you can't do that. But yeah, one of our youth pastors coined it death ball one time because we had so many injuries within a certain span of time, a couple weeks. One time I went to pass a ball. I went to do like an overhand, one-handed pass across the court, and one of the kids just jumped up in front of the ball and just square in the face. And what makes it worse is he came back 2 weeks later, and the exact same thing happened again to him.
Oh,
So
oh
yeah,
man.
I love basketball. We'll have to play it. We'll have to play at Reach next year somehow. We'll have to find an outdoor
I don't
court and
know.
shoot around.
I'm not really the friendliest basketball player.
I haven't played in a while. It wouldn't be pretty probably. But yeah, Lexicon, Christian
My
game developers. It's a good. It's made by a Christian company, which is cool. But again, it's not. It's not one of those. It's not a Christian game per se. I imagine that it's family friendly. I haven't played it, but the company is called Illum, Illum, and the game's called Lexicon. So it's on Kickstarter. I think you can wishlist it on Steam and that. There's not a demo yet to try, but go wishlist it and check it out. We'll put the link in the show notes there.
Yeah, definitely wish list it. I mean, I love to go wish list things even if I never plan on doing them
Yeah.
because I know some of the developers and want to see them be able to succeed. So
Yeah.
adding it to the wish list doesn't cost me anything.
No, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's interesting. Like, like if you're a Christian game developer, what do you need to actually do for a game to be Christian? And
Mm-hmm.
I think like our definition can be really, really nebulous. And by that, I mean, if I have themes of light and darkness, good versus evil, uh, how is that not a Christian game? Now, depending on how much gray area you have, I mean, and what you're doing with things. But if they're trying to escape from, what did you say? It was purgatory or
Like
limbo? Sorry,
limbo.
limbo.
Yeah.
You're trying to escape from limbo. How are they using that? And with the reference to limbo and all of that, and how did you get into limbo? I mean, there could be some themes that are developed in the storyline that could be Tolkien-esque
Mm-hmm.
or C.S. Lewis like, where you're taking Christian themes, you're not using Christian language, and you're putting them into something. I think that definitely could be a possibility there with just that concept of escaping from something that you are trapped within.
Yeah. I think that's the URL I just dropped in chat there, Sonic. Yeah, for sure. Like a game doesn't have to be straight up in your face gospel message to have Christian values, to have, like you said, light and dark and yeah. Yeah, for sure. At the same, yeah, because that's like Soma they do games, and it's like it's not a gospel message, but it's informed by their values and their faith. And I think that's very cool that you can still do that. You can still be creative. I think we were made to create. We're made in the image of our creator, who was a creator. So if we were made in his image, we're going to be
Yeah.
creating. And I've always liked that message, and I see it a lot in some of the Discord servers and different messages that I listen to and watch through those different groups like in Landris and game developers and NCMU and different things like that. So yeah, hopefully we wish them success. I'll probably check it out if they drop a demo or something, and maybe maybe grab the game later. But it looks very interesting. It's a very retro vibe. Um, not even pixel retro necessarily, but almost bigger pixels like the Atari. I think kind of like it's not like a
Oh.
Mario pixely. It's more maybe even more old school than that. So it looks pretty neat. But yeah, anything anything else you wanted to talk about, or anything that you're working on that you wanna give a shout out for?
Yeah, somewhat it's just I don't know if the last time I was on I mentioned, so, my podcast where I bring on people like you who are Twitch streamers and talk about how you got started. So Control Alt Delete is now on
Control Alt Redeem.
Spotify. It Sorry. Yes, I said the wrong thing. Oh my goodness, I said the wrong
That's funny.
Control Alt Redeem, not Delete. Duh. Wow, it is late at night for me,
Yeah,
or getting
I hear
there.
you.
Um, Control Alt Redeem, and it's now on Spotify. It's now on Apple. Um, so I'm trying to do more with shorts with that.
Yeah,
Season 2 is only on YouTube, but every other Thursday I'm releasing a back edition of it. So by the end of the year, most of first season 1 will be out,
cool.
but I'm doing it in reverse order. So
Oh, okay.
you got episode 35, and then you
Yeah,
got episode 34. So there'll be an episode coming out tomorrow of the new season with I'm trying to think who it is. Well, I don't know when this will go out, so I won't mention it. Anyway, there's an episode going out tomorrow
yeah,
of season 2, like episode 11, and then on Thursday will be season 1, episode 32 or 33, whatever that is. And
right.
so uh, it's been great doing
It's cool.
that. Looking forward to going to a bunch of different conventions and meeting up with people through, I've got a trip planned in March, April, and May at this
Nice.
point to go do a bunch of stuff. So
That's awesome.
it's exciting to see what God's up to.
Yeah. I loved being on the podcast, and I just love podcasts where you give people a platform to just speak openly and speak freely. Like a lot of times it can feel hard, even like when you're starting out, or even I'm not even starting out. I say that a lot, like, oh, we're starting up this ministry, but it's like we've been doing it for 5 years, but I've never necessarily felt like I had a place where somebody asked me a whole bunch of questions about it. I've had a couple small
Yeah.
conversations with people here and there and things like that, but it's very cool to have a platform to get and chat and hear about other people's ministries too. So yeah, I look forward to listening to more of those episodes as well.
Yeah, and since we're on Twitch, I've noticed my trend has gone from it being it, just up to 2 hours to now the episodes are almost all 3 hours. Like it's when I do a couple episodes and it's like, yeah, we just went over 2 hours and we're still going. It's like, hey, are we done? Nah, we can keep going. It's like, oh wow, how did we get to 3 hours? So they're great for live. I don't know how great they are for listening to
Well,
afterwards, but I have gotten better at going back and cutting any of the tech issues out of them. So,
I was wondering if do you have something that automatically trims like dead air and things like that, or is it just a straight?
oh yeah. Oh, so okay. We were talking before we got on air about Riverside.fm,
Okay, yeah,
and if
I
you're
wondered.
interested in that, we'll talk about that another time. But I can go in and tell it to take anything that's over 3 seconds of dead air and
Yeah,
eliminate it. I can say a second and a half.
nice,
I can say half a second. I can say take all of it out. I can also tell it to take out of it and
cool.
different words that are filler words. So it will do now. it's not the best at all the filler words because it's how you pronounce it and those kinds of things.
For
It
sure.
doesn't
Yeah.
always catch them. But you can do that. You can also set it up where rather than cutting, and having it go dead silent, you could, and or moving the video along, you could just have it mute the word that's in there and let the video play naturally. So you're not cutting any time. You're just cutting the extra words, or you can
Yeah.
just shorten everything up. So if you have, like background music playing behind you, it becomes choppy
Right.
if you
Yeah.
cut all of those seconds out.
Yeah. I watched the episode I was on, and I thought it seemed like there was every once in a while there was like almost like it skipped a frame, and I was like, oh, there must be some like dead space thing that's happening there, or we said for a long time or something, and he trimmed that out. But I wondered if it was automatic or if you were doing that by hand, because that can be a big job. That can be a really big.
Yeah, initially I think I had to go in and do that all
Mhm.
by hand, but now as they've been doing it, they've got better tools to be
Cool.
able to have it go in automatically and do some of those things. So,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll get a link from you for that for your other podcast as well, Control Alt Redeem, and we'll throw that in the show notes. And I think that's a wrap. Do podcasts only record audio, or are there some that do video? You have to upload video, but quite a few of them are now. Apple actually just decided that they're gonna add video to their podcast. So right now, I upload a video file to Spotify for creators, and Spotify for creators will allow people to watch the video on Spotify or the audio. It will send the audio to Amazon. It will send the audio to Apple. And I'm assuming once Apple turns on video, it'll also send the video there. Then I put the video on YouTube, and YouTube has a podcast feature that takes certain episodes that you upload and tag them as podcasts. It will package it as a podcast for their YouTube player on mobile, that where you can search for podcasts and allow you to watch the video or the just listen to the audio. But anyway, we could keep talking for another hour like we did on yours.
oh
Um,
yeah, we absolutely could. The other
so
thing, like, I misspoke. Uh, it actually has a new feature that just came out this year where you could just change the word, and so you're doing it in the transcript. So when I said the
okay.
wrong word, if you didn't correct me and we found out later that I said the wrong thing, you just highlight the word, correct the spelling, and it will take my voice and say the word in my voice, match my lips to it, and do that. So it's not doing the whole thing, but
Wow.
just for a word
Yeah.
that you misspoke, you can correct it. And I
Interesting.
think that's a pretty cool feature when you didn't catch it in real time, and you can just edit out the problem. It's like, oh, I just said that wrong,
Yeah.
and I can change it.
That's very
So
cool. That could be very helpful too for if somebody says something that's just kind of like off color or something, and you're like, ooh, maybe we'll change that. Yeah.
yeah, supersonic, it matches a lip. So it will manipulate my lips because it's got the whole video to know where my lips should come together to pronounce that word.
Yeah.
And so it will change it so it looks like I'm saying the right word that I just typed.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Very helpful. Instead of having to re-record, because I've done that in the past where I've shot a video and I watch it later after I uploaded it, and somebody goes, you said this, right? And so then I go back and I sit down in front of my computer and I try and say it again, and I try and download the video, and I try and stick the new section of video where I said the correct thing in, and that can be an hour of work just to replace a single word that you said wrong. Whereas now you can just type in the new word and it just replaces it. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there are other platforms out there too, where if you want it in another language, it will take and use your voice to speak fluently in the other language and match your lips to it. I think
Interesting.
the leader of Argentina was one of the first ones that I saw that they did that with. He gave this
Hmm.
really big speech when he came into power, being elected as a libertarian when the country's never had one. And so his speech went viral, but it went viral partially because they were translating it into English so Americans
Really?
could listen to his speech
Oh,
and you watch him give the
it
speech
looked like he
instead
was
of going,
speaking
"Oh,
it.
it's in Spanish."
Yeah,
Yeah, it looked like he was speaking the whole thing. His lips matched and all of that stuff. So
very cool. That's very neat.
if you want to talk about concerns with AI, that's where my concern goes.
Hmm.
Is when I can take a public figure, make them say whatever I wanted, and then release that in a third world country and then shut the power grid down so nobody can refute what they just watched.
Hmm.
And you can't find out it was a deep fake. That's where I have concerns, but
Yeah.
we don't need to go there.
That could be a whole episode. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me, Flatcap. I really appreciate you hopping on with us tonight. And yeah, look forward to more episodes and more episodes of your podcast as well. So
Yeah, it was a good conversation, even though it
mhm.
was like, well, I've not played that game. I've not played that game.
Yeah.
I've not.
Well, I figured that even if we had others on who hadn't played it, we could still talk about the impact to the industry and things like that, which is
Yeah, and that's
always
the
very cool.
direction I kind of
Yeah.
felt like was because these are anniversaries of things.
Yeah.
It's the impact that's important.
Yeah.
As much as anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you for having me on. I love hanging out.
Yeah. Have a good night. I'll talk to you later.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.